All right, so here we go. So, man, I've been waiting a couple weeks for this, or a couple years, depending on how you look at. I've got the winner of, I think it's the ABA championship. He won Havasu, and then he went to Mojave, which he hasn't fished, and won the boat there. And then he went back to Havasu and fished the One Bass Arizona Open and won the boat there. I've got the one, the only Jason Marquez. Welcome, 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 man.
Thanks, God. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a blessed couple weeks. You can say that. I mean, to accomplish that with my father, the ABA was awesome. And to come back and win Havasu, the one bass was it's a dream come true. I'm super thankful and super blessed.
Yeah. Now, so you've been fishing. I know you've been fishing with your dad a while. I've been
Uh-huh.
following you on social media. You've been, winning tournaments with your brother. I didn't even know you had a brother until I've been seeing you guys holding up, 6 and 7 pounders at Lake Havasu.
I've got my older brother actually into going out with me, and he never really liked fishing or hunting or any of that, but he's addicted now. He loves it, and because my dad, he's getting same, where you're at. It's hard on him. He works, and it's hard for him to get out there and practice, and he fishes the tournaments and he does awesome, but to get him out there and practice, it's just too hard on him. He's just got, he's just getting old. So
Yeah. How old is your brother?
my brother, he's 40 years old, so he's 1 year older than me.
Okay. Good.
So
Cool.
yeah, I honestly think like give him 3 more years, and you guys will start hearing about him. He's good. I mean, like he's picking up things so quick. Like he's only been going out with me for maybe 6 months, and he's just catching on. Like he just catches on so quick, and it helps when you're with someone that puts you around fish and stuff. But he just picks up things, and he has that competitive spirit in him as well.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun taking him out there.
Yeah, no, I bet. And I was thinking about what you were talking about with targeting smallmouth and largemouth. I remember a tournament. I think it was last year. No, it was this year, I believe. When when I won as a co-angler, MLF, and Am I thinking about the right tournament? And then I think you only had I don't know, just a few pounds one day, and then the last day you came in with 27 pounds or something like that, right? Or sort of a huge bag.
So the first day I had 20 pounds. I was in second place. The second day I bombed. I only had like 11 pounds.
11 pounds. Okay.
And then the last day I came in with 25 pounds. I ended up getting third. And when you won that, you and Todd had won that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. But just being able to make a comeback from 11 pounds to 25 pounds is saying something. We see there's a list of names. I don't have them written down, but just off the top of my head, there's certain people that are dangerous at Havasu, and I'd put you at the top of the list. But you got the Williams brothers, Roy Hawk, Justin Kerr. Joe Uribe, and it's almost like, when you see one of you guys have a bad day, you think, okay, there's a chance, we have a chance to excel. But at the same time, it shows that you guys are human, and the fish aren't just jumping. I don't know how many times different guys have been accused of cheating, because they come in with some big, huge bags every single time. I'm sure they probably do that with you too.
Yeah, this town is like known for that. It's crazy. I don't know what it is about this town, but you get someone that gets on a hot streak or is constantly getting big bags, and it's just like people start talking.
Yeah.
But all it is, to tell you the truth, Todd, all these guys that are doing good, like when the Williams were killing it, all they did was fish.
Yeah.
They're out there 24/7, and if you can stay on top of the fish and you know what's going on, you're going to have a huge advantage against all these other guys that are just coming and getting 1 or 2 days of practice right before the tournament. See, when I practice for a tournament, I stay off the water a week before the tournament.
Oh, wow.
I'm practicing a week. Yeah, I practice a week before, and that's the last practice that I'm going to get. You know, I leave my fish alone for a week, and then I go straight into the tournament off of what I had found the week before, or what I had just been on, every weekend up until then. I stay off the water a week before the tournament, and I just go into the tournament off of I found the week before and up until then.
Yeah. So, I made the joke that, you make it hard for us to follow you, if you're not going to practice during the tournament, obviously.
Right.
I think that's a really smart way to do it. John Morrow. Remember John?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, John used to do the same thing. He'd go out and practice the weekend before, and then he, all the week off, and then he wouldn't fish till the tournament, also. And he was very, very successful.
I'm sorry, and my thoughts on that, it's not necessarily about people seeing me. It's just, going into these big tournaments, these 3-day tournaments, these fish don't take pressure well here.
Yeah.
And for me, I'd rather, pull up on my fish and then be fresh to me as what I'm throwing and, the angles I'm hitting them at. I don't want to show them anything until, a week before, basically. So I want to show up on fresh fish, and I strongly believe, that you've got to give them some rest here. There's tons of fish in this lake, but they get a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
From, there's tons of anglers here. There's tons of tournaments here. All the guys are fishing the same spots, the same baits. So, you got to give them some rest if you can.
That was going to be my next question. So you're fishing you have your set spots that you're fishing at. Do you find yourself running into the same guys, on the spots?
So there's a few of us. So yeah, so me, the Williams, there's a few of us that run into the same spots. And then there's the community holes here in Havasu that everybody fishes.
Mm.
And those spots put off good fish. You just got to time them right. So, yeah, I run into a lot of guys. But honestly, Todd, it's just all about timing. I mean, if you hit that timing right, then you can get well real quick on this lake. And me and my dad go off of the fishing forecast, the feeding windows that it gives you.
Okay.
We use that a lot. We don't rely on it, but we do use it. And we'll put ourselves in good areas, during those major feeding windows or any kind of feeding windows at that.
Yeah, good stuff. So, so here's my other question. You seem like, from what I know about you, a reaction bait guy. Do you ever throw worms, or would you label yourself a reaction bait guy, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I can catch them winding, that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'd say all year, there's going to be maybe a few months of the year where I'll pick up a worm, but in the wintertime, I won't even pick up a worm. Or, I might throw a jig a little bit, but I'm winding, 90% of the time. I do, when it gets warmer during the spawn and then in the summer, you'll catch me, I'll start Nico rigging and, throwing a weightless Cinco and stuff like that, because you have to do that, but if I can catch them winding something, that's what I'm going to be doing. Because, that's just what I do best at.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I actually... I shouldn't say I despise spinning rods, but I don't like them, and
No.
Anytime you see a spinning rod in my hand, that means I'm in trouble.
Yeah. It's actually crazy that the MLF that you won that last day. I caught my biggest fish on a spinning rod, but I was on the same kind of deal as the guy that won, with that little swim bait, and man, I hooked that fish hit that little 2.8 swim bait, and I had to chase it down because I was fishing around cages and stuff, and man, I had to chase it down, and I got lucky I got it in. But there was something special that was going on that last day of the tournament. I think they were pushing water in, and there was a good water flow, because that's what I was talking to Kerr about it, and he said that they were pushing a lot of water. So obviously that had those fish feeding that last day big time, because there was a lot of guys that caught them that last day.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people, Todd Klein's sponsored by Cool Baits, and
Right.
the beauty of it is, he'll advertise, he'll talk about the bait he's using, and I witnessed every fish he caught on a Cool Baits, and
Yeah.
I know for a fact if I would have tried to throw a Cool Bait behind him, I would have had
Yeah.
zero success.
Right. Right.
And I think that's probably the wouldn't you say the biggest thing that people try to duplicate what somebody else is doing, and that's when they do their worst. I was
Yeah, so that is like for me, that's like a number one thing that I will not do. I will not chase someone else's fish or pattern. I'm always going to do my own thing. I'm going to go find my own thing. I might try to take something from what they're saying and apply it to something that I'm doing, but I'm not going to pick the same bait up. It just never really works out that way.
Right.
If you try to chase someone else's fish and pattern, you're going to end up going down in a rabbit hole that's not, it ain't going to turn out good for you. For most of the time, that's what I've experienced throughout my fishing career. You got to do your own thing. You got to have confidence. Confidence is like a huge thing. If you have confidence in what you're doing, then, you're going to catch fish.
Yeah.
Confidence is huge in the sport.
Absolutely.
And if you have confidence in what you're doing, you're going to do well a lot of the times.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. And speaking of confidence, and I think, obviously both you and I follow social media, Facebook and whatnot, and you and your dad won at Lake Mojave. Okay. Now, I watched your story. When you're telling Billy Egan, I could almost tell it verbatim. So I'll let you go in whatever direction you need to go with. But I know that you said you were pulling up, you saw some birds, and you basically started fishing a long stretch, and that's how you caught them. Can you walk us through? Because you don't fish Mojave very often, right? Do you?
No, I've probably been on Mojave like maybe 5 to 7 times in my life. So I haven't been, and that was back in the day, like a long time ago. And then obviously last year and the year before for the fish off. Yeah. And so Mojave's been a tough lake for me and my dad. So basically we show up there, we're boat one out, because we did win the Havasu deal too. Yeah. So we're boat one out. We hit a couple spots that we've fished in the past that have been good to us, and nothing. And then the breeze started picking up, and I told my dad that let's move. And so I start running down the lake towards Cottonwood, and I see birds sitting on the bank, and kind of on points on the main lake, and the breeze it's maybe blowing 5 to 8 miles an hour. And so I see birds, and I pull up and start seeing fish on the live scope and not getting bit. And then all of a sudden, we pull up to this point, and they start blowing up like crazy. And I mean, like, it's just one little point, and it's inches of water, and they're blowing up, and we're throwing right on top of them. Can't get them to bite. And so... But we're looking around, and there's bluegills that are floating on the surface everywhere, all around the boat. And I mean, I'm talking about hundreds of bluegills.
Really?
And yes. And so what these fish were doing was they were pushing these bluegills from super deep water up to the bank. And I don't know if it was from them just hitting them, or if it was from them pushing them up so fast that their swim bladders were getting messed up. But they were all on the surface and they couldn't go down. And they were like dollar-sized bluegills. And so we couldn't get any bites while they were blowing up, but we knew we were in the right area. And so we kept fishing, and we started catching them. And we're throwing reaction baits, we're throwing A-rigs, we're throwing swim baits, we're throwing crankbaits, spinner baits. And I put a small limit in the boat in like an hour and a half, and that's the first limit I've ever caught on Mojave, to tell you the truth, ever. Yeah, and it's probably 14 pounds, and I'm stoked. I'm like, cool, man, and it's doing something I like doing. It's throwing reaction, and I'm just running with it, and I'm going down this bank, and every point I pull up to, I'm catching them, and they're getting bigger. And then finally, I finally dial it in where the big ones are laying. And so the big ones were setting up on the front side of the point where the wind was coming into it, and then also on the back of the point, on the deep guts, like where where the point meets the bank, basically. And man, I caught a 4-pounder, and then all of a sudden I'm fishing, and I'm looking at the live scope, and I see my dad's bait go by in the live scope, and there's a fish hot on it. And by the time I could tell him that he's got a fish on his bait, he sets the hook, and it's like a 460, 470. And so we got a good bag going, and so I take it off, I cull, and right as soon as I cull, man, he fires another cast out there, and he's got another one that's like a 470.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it was crazy. And this was all on one point. So one point, we catch two that are over 4.5. And then we go around the backside of this point. And when we get to the backside of this point, I fire my A-rig out there, and I see a pair of fish. And these smallmouth are super smart out there. The water's super clear. They got super great eyesight. And so, I brought my A-rig back in the first time. They followed it in, and they did what most of them do. They ran up on it, put the brakes on right as soon as they got to it, then turned away. And then they saw my dad's and followed his almost up to the boat. And then so I told my dad, I'm like, I need to back up, reposition the boat. So that's what I did. Backed up, repositioned the boat, and then I see him start swimming back out towards deep water. And so I fire out there and like my A-rig out in like 22 feet, let it sink to the bottom, and these fish are swimming towards it. And so I'm just slow reeling it. And so right as soon as the fish sees it and lights up and starts chasing it, I let it get kind of close to it, and then I just burn it. I burned it as fast as I could. I didn't want to give him a good look, and I ended up catching that fish, and that was like a 5.5, 5 something.
Wow.
And that's still the deal. I mean, we didn't know what we had, but I knew we had a giant bag because our smallest fish was like a 360, and everything else was over 4 and 5 pounds.
Wow.
So it was just one of those days. I mean, it was magical to be able to win Havasu. It was cool because Havasu, it started off slow for us. We had 15 pounds the first day, and the second day we ended up catching almost 20 pounds and came back to win. It's just we just were blessed. Everything was just meant to be, and when it's your time, it's your time.
Yeah.
You can't script it any other way. That's just how it's going to be most of the time.
Yeah, I guess when you're on a roll like that, you just want to fish every tournament in front of you and hope you can win every one of them.
Right.
I know for a fact that Kyle lost 2 key fish in the Arizona Open that that would have did it for him.
Oh.
And I think that's the part where you have luck, and then you have blessings. And it seems like when they come together, it's almost like there's a force that will push that everybody else around you away from it, and you'll have like I'll just call it a blessing that happens to you, and because that second place guy, that third place guy, I feel like if you finish in the top 10 almost in every tournament, you have a chance to win. And to be able to win, everything either has to go right or something has to go wrong for someone else. And in this case, Kyle losing, he said he lost 2 fish over 4 pounds the last day.
Yeah, and that was my thinking. Like going into I was confident going into the AZ Open. I didn't practice at all. I mean, my practice was the ABA that we fished, and so. I was confident going into it. The first day I went out and I caught 15 pounds. The first day I caught them all on an LB 500. No, I caught most of them on an LB 500, and then I caught my big one, which was like a 470 on an A-rig. And I I wanted so bad that first day to go run different stuff, but I knew that I had to leave it alone. Yeah. And so I just had to settle with the 15 pounds that I had. And I did that. And so day 2 comes around, and I go out there, and it starts slow on day 2, but I catch a good one in the morning. I catch like a 3.8, and then after that I put a small limit in the boat. And then so it's like 11 o'clock, day 2, I got maybe 11 or 12 pounds, and I was like, I got to do something different. And so I'm fishing my normal reaction stuff, and I get pushed into a back of a little cove, and I'm in some tulies, and there's shade on these tulies, and I had been flipping fish, and me and Kyle were actually talking about it. I told Kyle, I'm like, hey, don't be afraid to flip. I'm like, me and my dad have flipped some fish recently, so I pick up my flipping rod, make a couple flips, nothing, and then I'm like, all right, one more flip. I see a pad, and I throw in there, and I flip a 4.5 pounder. And I'm like, wow. And this is probably the healthiest fish I caught the whole weekend. And so I catch that. My bag's a little better. And then so I start just going running water. The breeze picks up. I end up picking up a chatterbait, and I caught a 4-pounder on a chatterbait. And this is where, we're getting at, it's probably 2:30 when I catch the smallmouth. I have a 4 o'clock weigh-in. And this is where, things kind of lined up for me. I wanted to go check something that I was trying to get on this one spot all day, and I couldn't get on it in the morning because there was a boat on it. And I told my guy, I'm like, all right, let's go. It's 2:40. I'm in the bowl. I got to run maybe 10 minutes. And I get over to the spot, no one's there. And I pull up, and, 3 casts in, I catch one. It's like a 480. And now I got a bag, now I probably got 18 pounds. And then I fish the spot a little more, and I catch a 3.5. And so this is at the end of day 2. And just from what I'm seeing, on my live scope and the feedback that I'm getting, the 2 fish that I caught, I knew that this spot was special, And so I told myself, I'm like, I'm starting here in the morning. And I didn't know that I was going to be going out boat 1. This is before day 2 was even over. Yeah. So I weigh my fish. I had like 1969. I had a big bag, day 2, and I'm sitting in first place. And so, I already know I'm going back to the spot. Even though I hit it later in the day, I knew, that it's one of those spots that, that there's certain spots on your home lake that fire in the morning, and this fish bite in the morning time. Yeah. And so I pull up there, first cast, I catch like a 3-something, a 3-pounder, and then maybe like 10 casts later, I catch a 4.5, and then we fish for a little bit longer, and my co-angler, Mike, he says, I'm on. And I'm like, oh, cool. So throw it on spot lock, grab the net, and he's fighting this fish, and the fish jumps. And it's a giant, dude. It's a 5-pounder. And he gets excited, he starts reeling. And the fish tried to jump again further out there, and he pulled the rod down like, he did the right thing. Oh. He pulled the fish back down, and then the fish was coming up to the boat, and it was getting ready to jump again. And me personally, like, if the fish is that close to the boat and it's going to jump, I'm just going to pull. I'm going to keep it coming. Yeah. But he tried to pull it back down, and the fish came unbuttoned, and we were both devastated. This is the final day, and for me, like, I wasn't thinking, oh, that's my tournament, but for him, I could tell it was bothering him a lot. Yeah. And I kept telling him, I'm like, Mike. I'm like, this is part of it, This is what we do. It's going to happen. Yeah. Keep fishing hard. I'm like, there's nothing you can do about it. Let's just go on with our day. And the day was tough after that. I didn't catch another keeper until probably noon, and it was like a 13-incher. So we're at, it's 2:40, and I got 3 fish in the box, and I saved a place you know very well, the Lake Havasu Marina. I saved it. I left it alone day 1, day 2. I know it was getting hammered, but as it always does.
Yeah.
And I saved it. It was 2:40. I'm like, let's go in the marina. And so we go in the marina, we idle in, and I have a 4 o'clock weigh-in, so I don't got much time to fish. You know, it takes probably, 10 minutes from that backside?
Yeah.
You know, so I idle in, and I put the trolling motor down, and literally, like, he picks up a drop shot. His first pitch with the drop shot, he catches like a 3.5 pounder.
Nice.
And, yeah, that's number 4. And like literally like probably 10 minutes before, no, not even 10 minutes, probably like a couple minutes before I had to leave to go weigh in, I catch one more 13-incher. And that's my limit. And I'm not feeling good about it at all because I have a small limit. You know, it's Havasu. Someone's going to crack them. Kyle's too good. Yeah. You know, I know he's going to catch them. Yeah. Frankie was catching them every day. Yeah. So, you know, I wasn't feeling good. But then we got to weigh in. Me, Kyle, and Frankie were all standing there, and we started all realizing it's going to be close, you know, for all of us. Yeah. For all three of us. Yeah. And I didn't weigh any of my fish that day, so I just knew I had a small limit. I had a couple good fish, but I knew I had a small limit. And Kyle weighed, and Frankie weighed, and he took the hot seat. And then Kyle weighed, and Kyle's just a little short. And then so I was the last one. And when he said I needed 11.5, then I kind of started getting nervous because, you know, I knew it was like I knew that I was like right there. And I ended up weighing 12.5 pounds, and it was just one of those moments, dude. I could hear my dad and my brother screaming in the back, and it was just such a surreal, you know, to think like we were talking that me and my dad were talking that morning and be like, oh, how crazy would it be to win another boat, you know? 'Cause we got the other boat from Mojave sitting out front, and then for it to all happen, it's just it was just a huge blessing. And you know, it's cool though to see, like, to get all the love and the, you know, all the people congratulating me and all the local guys and even the guys that aren't local to say, you know, oh, you deserve it, you know, all that hard work. It's cool to see, you know, all that hard work pay off because, you know, my life hasn't always been, you know, I've went through trials and tribulations, you know. I've had I haven't always made the best choices in my life. Well, and so
before I'm gonna stop you real quick on that because I want you to talk about that. I just kind of want to let you know the emotion that I'm feeling right now as you're telling the story. I felt myself getting choked up, you know, because of that. And I still am. Because of that reason, I know where you came from, you know, and you know, I'm so proud of you because I watched you spiral, you know, big time. And that's the main reason why. Sorry, man.
No, you're good, Todd.
That's the main reason why I want to have you on the show, you know, because a lot of people think when they hit rock bottom, there is no way back. And you and your dad, you know, and your dad being your support. And I don't know, I've never met your brother before. But I'm assuming, you know, you guys are a team. The three of you guys are a team. And, you know, I know you, I don't know if you still have a girlfriend, but I know you had a girlfriend. And but I know that your dad is probably the most proud he can be of you, of where you came from. So, first of all, congratulations. And I wanted to, you know, I was going to segue into when you started going to the marina. I'm like, oh, I gotta tell my marina story, but it's not about me. It's about you, you know. So take us through your journey of where you were, and obviously you already took us to where you're at now, you know.
Yeah. So, you know, coming out of high school, I didn't make the best of choices. You know, I started hanging around the wrong crowd, and I got pretty deep into being addicted to opiates. Wow. And I struggled with it, you know. All through my 20s and 30s, it was an up and downhill battle with it. And it was more, I had way more time struggling with it than actually having clean time. And, I still fished with my dad when I could, but it wasn't the same. And, my dad still put up with it. He still took me out. He still supported me. But, I wasn't the person that I needed to be. And so, so basically, I struggled hard with opiates. And at first it was just, just struggling with addiction. But then, with addiction comes, you're getting in trouble with the law. I started having troubles with the law, not doing what my probation wanted me to do. So in my 30s, Todd, I'm in and out of a jail cell. And, I'm still making horrible decisions. And I couldn't shake, this opiate addiction, man. It just had me by the grip, and I could not shake it, like whatever I did. Even though I had all these outlets, like I had all the support you could ever ask for from my family. I had fishing, I had hunting. It's just, it had such a grab on me that it took me going to prison 2 times, Todd. The second time when I got out, before I went and turned myself into a inpatient treatment center, and I spent 6 months there. And I think that's kind of what led me, into the direction of getting out of that hole. They gave me the tools I needed to deal with this addiction, and this is something I'm gonna fight my whole life. It's never going to go away. It's going to be a daily battle, and I know that. And so I go to this treatment center, and I'm clean. I'm doing good, and so I get out, and now I got to go to prison, and now I got to go to prison, and I got to do, I go sit in the cage again for another, 5 months, and so I do that, I get out, and my dad picks me up as usual. He's always there. He's always been there. My mom and my dad, I owe everything to them. I've put them through so much. It's hard to even talk about. I put them through so much through, my addiction, and they've always been there. They've never given up on me, and so, my dad was there. He picked me up, brings me back home, and, I don't know, something changed. Like I said, I went to the inpatient, and that helped, but something changed with me. I got to a point where, I was just done. I was just tired of, feeling like that, and I was just tired of, starting my life over, getting everything, back, and then losing it, like getting cars and then losing them, just getting my life back, and then just losing it all again. And so I get back, and I have nothing. But I have my family, I'm living at my parents' house, and I start working. I get a job immediately, and I get out, and I start working, and it's at the same job I'm at now. And with me, I'm just honest, like with my employers, I'm going to tell you how it is, I feel like honesty is probably, it's better just to be honest with people and let them know what you've been through. And if they're going to hire you, they're going to hire you. If not, then not. So, I let them know, what I was going through, what I had been through, where I've been. And, he gave me a shot, and, that's one thing about me. I've always been a hard worker at anything that I've done. And even with fishing, it's the same way. So, I start working, and this guy's blown away. Like, he's like never had someone that's worked so hard. And, I've been doing epoxy floors for a long time, so I had great experience. And so I start working, and then, me and my dad start doing team tournaments again. And so I basically taught, like, I what I feel like what I did was I took the, my addiction tendencies and I put them towards fishing. Oh. I put everything, towards fishing.
What year was this?
So this was 2000 and it's been fun. I think 2018.
Okay.
When I got out.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I get out, and I started putting everything into fishing and working, and that's all I do. I have no friends. I have the same girlfriend, but she lives in Mesa. I live here. We see each other as much as we can, and then I don't do nothing. All I do is work, and then I fish on the weekends, and I have no friends, and that's fine with me. And then I have my dad and my brothers, and we start fishing, just start fishing team tournaments again. And, it's just everything, that I've been through. I wouldn't change it because, it all did suck, but it's made me the person I am today. And, a lot of people don't know that about me, everything. There's a lot of people that do. And, it's just, that's why my dad's, it's awesome to, make my dad proud, and just for him to be there and to see that all happen. It's just, I wouldn't have it any other way,
Yeah.
Where I'm at right now, it's all uphill from here. I'm going to start, fishing a lot more pro tournaments, but, I'm also, I got to give everything to God. I never really put a lot of faith into, my dad's always, I'm Catholic and I went to Catholic school, and, I just always, I've never really been like that, that into, faith and God. But I'll tell you what, every time I was in that jail cell and I needed him, he was there for me, Yeah. Every time that I was at my lowest, he was always there. He always answered it, no matter, how long I went without, speaking to him, or, all the bad things I had done. He was always there. And that was another thing, day 3 of the AZ Open, before even leaving my house, I just, I prayed, I prayed to him and thanked him for all the blessings he had given me, and allowing me to be alive, to be fishing, and just to be doing what I love. So, it wasn't asking him, please let me win this tournament. It was just, giving him thanks for, allowing me to be able to do it, and allowing, and it's awesome, dude. I couldn't ask for anything else. So where I'm at now, it's heavy, but it's there's a lot of good things to come,
Yeah, no, you made it through the other side. That's the thing about it. And like you said, God is going to be God no matter what we do and no matter who we are. And he might not care about whether or not we win a tournament, but he cares about us, and there's been many times where I used to look back and I think, why does that person win? He's not a good person. He's not a good person. It's not fair. I'm a good person. I should win. Well, that's not what it comes down to. It has nothing to do with it. It's how do we act when we lose? How do we act when we're having a rough day? Today's a perfect example. I scrambled to get things going. That's why I said, hey, Jason, can you be here, an hour later, when I was trying to do too much, and things were happening with my computer, and, and everything was going on. Anyway, enough about me. But God's going to be who God is, I think, no matter what, no matter who we are, and he's going to bless us if we'll accept his blessings, not necessarily, he does. I think there was a guy, I'm not sure what year, but there was a guy back then it was the MLF before it was it was the FLW before it was MLF. And there was a guy in one of the regions that won all 3 tournaments, first place, and he also won the championship. I mean, I wouldn't even know what to do with myself, if I got in that situation, but we have to allow things like that to happen, I think, in our lives,
Right.
And that's a perfect example of what you guys have gone through these last 3-4 weeks,
Yeah. Yeah, because there's been plenty of times, like you said, you'll be having a bad day, and I'll catch myself asking myself, why is this happening to me? I haven't done anything wrong, type of thing, and it's not even about that, where you got to have. I feel like God puts those situations in your life, to teach you, and to make you a stronger person. And, I just feel like, everything that's happened in my life has happened for a reason. And, there's a purpose in my life. And, it's like I said, the last couple of weeks have been awesome. And, if I don't ever win another tournament again, I'd be happy with it. But I'm just happy, like I said, to be sober, to be able to fish with my dad, to be able to fish, to have a job, to have a roof over my head, just the simple things, I'm just happy about all that,
Yeah.
And that's what's most important to me is family, God, and my sobriety, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's good. And by the way, you talking about your plan. I didn't want to cut you off about the way you executed your day was perfect. Your day's fishing, and obviously we have to treat our life the same way.
Right.
We can't let obstacles get in our way. And what I mean by that, is, God forbid you might have a relapse. It's not about you having a relapse. It's about what happens when you have that relapse, or whatever you do. Like I said, I told you earlier before we even started, I said, hey, I can edit this video. I might throw out an F-bomb. Well, I can edit that out. A lot of times, certain things you don't get a do-over, and you've been lucky to be able to get a do-over and a do-over, to be in jail twice. I have a few friends that have been through the same thing you've been through on their own path, and they're very, very successful now. One of my best friends went through that. And so I'm definitely, I don't judge, because I know, as soon as I judge something, then something crazy is going to happen to me, so I just kind of go with the flow, and, all we can do is forgive each other and do what we do, and we're almost at the 50-minute mark. So I want to give you the opportunity to, if you have anybody to thank, or if you could just give us a tip. It doesn't have to be a Havasu tip, a bait tip, or whatever tip, but some kind of fishing tip, that you can give us.
So, I want to thank, my family, my mom, my dad. They've supported me through everything. God, close. I don't have any sponsors yet, but that's fine with me. As far as a tip, for me personally, time on the water is huge, Todd. If you can put time on the water, it doesn't even have to be the lake you're fishing. Any water, you could be any lake that you're close to, as long as you can get time out in the water, and be dialed in with your rod and reels, with your casting. That's going to be huge. And as far as Havasu, the forward-facing sonar, it's changing everything for Havasu, and everywhere, I honestly think in the next couple of years, these fish are they're gonna get so used to it that, I think the bank guys are gonna start doing pretty good here soon. But, Havasu, you could do anything in Havasu. You can catch them, you can catch them cranking, flipping, whatever. But I think just do what you're confident in, and stick to that. Don't listen to doc talk. Do your own thing. Be your own person. That's the best advice I could give.
Wow, that's great advice. And on that forward-facing sonar thing, Kyle and I, we filmed some stuff for Lawrence at one of the local lakes. And one of the things that he was saying, I never made a cast. I filmed everything with him. We spent about 4 hours on the water, and my face, he actually had his forward-facing sonar on, and on the console, I was watching it just sitting there in the driver's seat, and I learned so much watching that thing. But one of the things he said was exactly what you said. He says sometimes when he would turn that transducer on a fish, they were. I was watching them, and these were the same fish he was catching. So it's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, so I would have to agree. I mean, I guess if a helicopter keeps flying over my head over and over and over again, eventually I'm either going to move or I'm going to shoot that helicopter down.
Right. That's why you're having to make such a long cast, or there's going to be situations they're not going to be as bothered by it, but it's definitely the smarter and bigger fish are showing signs that when that beam gets pointed to them, they're out of there.
Yeah.
They're either gonna sink to the bottom and stick to the bottom, or they're gonna swim off.
Yeah.
That's what they're gonna do. So.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, kudos to you again. Congratulations, and I can't wait to see you. I'm gonna try. I usually come out to Havasu either right after Thanksgiving, or I feel like Havasu, the best fishing, especially for me. I like to throw a bass tricks. The best time of the year for me is late November and December. Because they're chasing bait. So maybe we can get together, if we're out and go out and make a few casts and continue this podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Reach out to me, Todd, and we'll get out there. We're still like a month behind right now. It's still kind of warm, but once that cold gets here, that bite's going to be on. My bite's going to be on. It's going to be, it's going to be good.
Yeah. Good deal. Right on. Well, thanks, Jason. That was a great. The 45, like I said, it's been like 50 minutes. That went by so fast. It was incredible. And hopefully we could do it again. I know you got a bunch more wins than you, just like Kyle. I think you and Kyle are going to be battling it out next year. And hopefully I could sneak in there somewhere and see what happens.
You're a great fisherman. Don't discredit that.
Appreciate it. Well, good talking to you, and we'll do it. We'll see you soon.
All right, Todd. Thank you.
You got it. All right, I'm gonna turn the recorder off, and that was good stuff, man.
Yep.
I'll be in touch for sure.
All right.
Say hi to your dad for me.
All right, Todd. Thank you.
Okay, you got it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.